Hi everyone, this is Yana Smakula and thank you so much for joining me today. In this video, I'm sharing lots of different cards and ideas using Hero Art's January My Monthly Hero Kit add-ons. I'm not using the kit products. These cards are all made using just the add-on stamps. I mentioned this last time I did a video with the My Monthly Hero Kit, and I'll say it again. Every month, Hero Arts has very unpredictable and super fun products and designs in their kits. This kit is all about Valentine's Day, and there are many fun and quirky stamps and images that work well for any love-themed cards. I got a bit distracted and made a card for nearly every add-on stamp set this month. Many of them are very similar and use similar techniques, but all are very easy and fun to make. My favorite product this month is not a stamp set, but a set of pre-cut heart-shaped tags. These tags are fantastic and they're very affordable. They are great for those who might not have a die-cutting machine or don't have a heart-shaped die. The size of these is perfect to take the center stage of an A2 card. There's 20 in a pack, 10 white and 10 craft cards, so you get plenty of shapes to play with. These shapes can be used in a variety of ways, like a regular heart-shaped die cut, for example, or they can be adhered together to house a secret message for your card. This is exactly what I did for this You Always Have My Heart card with a raccoon. I took one of the tags, stamped a sentiment in black ink, and foam mounted a raccoon holding a heart. Next, I used a scoring board and added score lines just about 1/4 of an inch from the left-hand side. I flexed the score lines on both. You actually don't need to score the top and bottom shapes, just the bottom one is enough. And then I stamped You Are a Love Bandit sentiment in black ink onto the other shape. Then I used glue and adhered the two shapes together, forming a secret compartment for my card. And just like this, you can adhere two of these shapes together to form a pocket, or maybe partially adhere one shape onto a card base to form a pocket for a gift card if you want to include one with your card. Once the glue was dry, I foam mounted my hearts onto a white panel. I stamped a simple background using gray ink and another raccoon image from the Love Bandit stamp set. I added several enamel dots created using Nuvo droplets and foam mounted this entire panel onto an A2 card base made out of fog cardstock from Simon Says Stamp. I pre-made these droplets by adding them onto a used fun foam square sheet, and I let them dry overnight. Now, I rarely do this, but I have found it worked really well for this card as I was able to move the dots and reposition them however I wanted. Maybe I'll stick to this method of using the Nuvo drops in the future. Here is a quick clip showing how I made these Nuvo drops. Very easy, and you just have to set the sheet aside somewhere and remember to not put anything on top of these or you'll ruin them. I also used pre-cut heart shapes for something I call inlaid heat embossing. I seamlessly combined two different images into one using embossing powder on these heart shapes. I really love doing this, and I find it to be, a very neat trick. The key here is not to overheat the embossing powder as it will sort of bleed and it might obliterate the image, especially if that image is very detailed. Here I tried stamping this on vellum and I overheated it. You can see that the sentiment bled sort of and it lost its detail. This technique works best if you have a negative sentiment like this happily ever after. The text itself is made up of a negative space, and it's the banner that makes up the positive space around the negative sentiment. So you'll need a negative sentiment like this and any other image that you can inlay this negative sentiment stamp into. Let me show you how this is done. So start by heat embossing the sentiment. I'm using my anti-static powder tool here and stamping the sentiment in clear sticky ink. I'm using prototype stamps today, so not all of them have a black index sticker printed. But when you buy these, you will have the sticker on them and you'll be able to easily tell which stamp set you're using. So I'm going to cover this with brass embossing powder and we'll carefully heat set it without overheating this image. And by the way, any color of embossing powder can be used for this. Once you heat set it, be sure to let it cool for a few seconds. And then treat the paper with an anti-static powder again, just to be safe. Ink up the second image you want to use. Here I'm using a beautiful rose heart stamp, and then stamp it again, or stamp it for the first time, overlapping the sentiment. Add embossing powder once again and cover the entire image. Now the powder sits on the sentiment banner, and if we go ahead and heat set it, it's going to obliterate the detail and the sentiment will no longer be visible. So prior to heat setting, this powder must be cleaned from the sentiment area. And you can do this by using a small dry paintbrush. Just carefully remove the powder from the area you don't want it on. Now, since there is sticky embossing ink there, the brush will pick up some of that ink and the powder will start sticking to the brush. So you have to clean it from the brush from time to time. Here's what my image looks like. The sentiment is heat embossed. The heart is not heat embossed, but the powder has been removed from the area that overlaps the heart. It's time to heat set this again. So preheat your heat tool and heat set this in small sections, making sure not to overheat the entire thing. And here's what this little heart looks like. It appears as if this image was intended like this, with a sentiment going across the floral heart. So it no longer looks like you used two different stamps, but looks like you used just one. Here is another example using a different stamp, but this is You Are So Lovely stamp, also from the January My Monthly Hero Kit add-ons. And here is another one using a gorgeous bouquet stamp and an older stamp that comes from the Sealed with a Kiss stamp set. I didn't film how I made every card today, as most of them are rather simple, but I still wanted to show you each one of them here. First up is this Happily Ever After card using color layering rose. And by the way, I'll be sharing an additional separate video with this color layering rose stamp set soon as a part of my color layering with Yana series, so stay tuned for that. Here I skipped using the bottom most solid layer of the rose and just stamped detailed layers, creating these beautiful delicate roses. I cut them out with my scissors and arranged into a cluster on a heart tag. The leaves were stamped directly onto the tag. I also added a scored background panel to this card. I added score lines at 1-inch intervals going horizontally. If you want to know how I make these score lines, be sure to watch my other video and I'll link to it here. The Happily Ever After banner was stamped in black ink and heat embossed in sparkle embossing powder, so it has a little bit of shimmer to it. My next card is made using the Love Bandit stamp set with adorable raccoons. I just love it. I stamped the main raccoon in black ink and colored with Copics, and I have specific colors of the Copic markers that I used listed on my blog. You can also take a closer look at the photographs of these cards, and the link to my blog is listed in the video description. I also used a light gray ink to stamp the front panel of this card. I just stamped another raccoon image repeatedly, forming a pattern. The You Stole My Heart sentiment was heat embossed in white on black. I foam mounted it onto the heart tag and next trimmed it following the shape of the tag. I also added pink enamel dots made using Nuvo drops. I also made some red ones here. I'm planning to use them for another card soon. Here's this card with a secret message. It was done in the exact same way as the previous one, with the only difference being that secret message chamber. The next card is using a bouquet stamp. I stamped it in black ink and heat embossed in clear embossing powder. I sometimes like to do this to help me stay within the lines when I color. I colored it with Copic markers, and I'll be sharing step-by-step photos of this card on my blog and in my Instagram stories today, so take a look if you'd like to see the process. I also added gray stamped bouquets around the main image, and finally I added Happily Ever After as my sentiment. Here I trimmed it into a strip rather than the banner. Just wanted to change things up and show you how you can use these solid negative stamps a little bit differently. My next card uses the Lovebirds stamp and cut set. I stamped a little scene onto a hard tag and colored it using Copics. I coated everything with tonic aqua shimmer pen to add shimmer to my images, and I foam mounted the tag onto a gold glitter background panel made using a stencil from Hero Arts and gold glitter paste from Tonic Studios. I actually made this background some time ago, and it was just sitting on my desk waiting to be used. And it really worked well for this card. And here's another card. This one was done using Stealing My Heart stamp set. I used the exact same approach to create the focal point and the background as I did with the raccoon cards. The sentiment here was stamped in black ink, and I heat embossed it in sparkle embossing powder. Again, I'm really loving this sparkle embossing powder lately. Before I finish this video, I also wanted to show you how I use those heart shapes with inlaid heat embossing. I stamped a background using color layering rose. This was actually just one of my test backgrounds. I didn't think I'd use it, but I liked it in the end. I also skipped the base most solid layer for the flower. I next heat embossed the rose heart in a few sections and just foam mounted the heart tag on top. So this is it for today. Be sure to visit my blog for a full list of supplies that I use to make these cards. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments section below, and be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't yet done so. If you are a subscriber but are not receiving new video notifications, please check the bell icon on the homepage of my channel to get notified every time there's a new video out. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye!